What I'm going to share with you guys today will change your life forever. So let me explain. I'll wait for you to like the video and subscribe. Some time ago, there was a popular study where dogs were trained to link the sound of a bell to food. So whenever the bell was rung, the mouths of the dogs would salivate in anticipation for the food. These dogs were conditioned over time to hear the bell and to link it to the reward of getting food. Now, if you were to pick any random dog out there who is not conditioned this way, if you were to ring a bell around him, he is not going to link the sound of the bell to food. It's only these dogs within this study that were able to do this. But why? The answer is because they were conditioned for it. See, every day we see advertisements, every day we see movies, we see things on TV, and when we see these things, most of us don't really think much of them. But something really sneaky is going on behind the scenes, and it's affecting men all over the world. And once you realize what's really happening, it's going to forever change the way you think. It's going to help you to slip into the top 1% of men out there who know the truth and who are operating from a completely different mindset. The number one question out there on the mind of most men these days is, how am I supposed to get girls? Now, you've all heard that the gap between the wealthy and the poor is constantly widening, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, guess what? The gap between the number of men out there who get all the girls and the number of men who get none is also widening. And so, what this means is that a smaller and smaller percentage of men out there are getting a larger and larger percentage of females who are fighting over them. Now, if you listen very, very carefully to what I'm telling you here, it's going to be much easier to get yourself on the right side of that equation. So, every day we see countless ads on television. Many of you watch Netflix or something similar, and within all of these things is a hidden message. This message is nowhere near as prominent as it is in big Hollywood movies. If you think of almost any movie out there that you have seen in Hollywood in recent times or in the past, the plot tends to go a little something like this. Usually, in the beginning, you have a beautiful girl, and at some point, that girl is placed in a situation of great danger. And so what happens is the girl basically ends up in a situation where she needs to be rescued. And even in movies where you don't think this is happening, it's probably happening in one way or another, you just don't realize it. So, what you end up with is this utterly helpless girl, and she is in desperate need of a man to come and save her. And in order to save the girl, or in order to save the princess, what does the man have to do? What he has to do is he has to slay a dragon. Or he might have to gain extraordinary superhuman abilities and make his way through endless trials and conquests until finally, in the end, he ends up getting the girl. Now, the story is going to be a little bit different from one movie to the next, but the core message is always the same. And the core message is that the princess or the girl must be earned by the man. So, in many movies, you have a man who literally saves the entire planet or the entire universe even, and for his reward, he basically receives the attention and the love of the beautiful girl in the end. If you look at the beginning of pretty much any of these movies, what you'll see is that the girl was never really interested in the guy. What usually happens is the guy most likely had a big crush on the girl, but it was only after he saved the planet from certain doom that the girl would finally give him her attention. So, the core message here is that if you want the girl, you must earn her. And how do you earn her? Well, through endless achievements and conquests, of course. And if you think this message is only hiding in Hollywood movies, just take a look at pretty much any video game out there. Think about how many times Mario had to slap Bowser around and how many coins he had to collect and how many levels he had to beat just so that in the end, Mario could be rewarded with none other than Princess Peach herself. So, what is happening here? What's happening is that from the moment that we can start playing video games and watching movies and television, we are being secretly programmed with this hidden message. And like the dogs that have been trained to salivate at the sound of a bell, we as men have been conditioned over time to link achievement and success with getting girls. In other words, we have been conditioned to believe that we must give everything in order to earn a female. So, you might ask yourself, what exactly is wrong with that idea? And the answer is simple. The underlying message, or the message within the message, is that as men, we are just not simply good enough for the girl until we have proved our worth to her. And the hidden message here is that to get the girl, we must first earn her through great sacrifice and through great achievements. And pretty much everything inside of our society now, and in the past, and most likely well into the future, is based on this core idea. And the core idea is that to get a girl to marry him, a man must spend thousands of dollars on a diamond ring to once again prove himself or to prove his worth to her. In other words, to prove that he deserves her. So, imagine if growing up everything that you saw on television, everything that you read in a book, every movie that you watched, every video game that you played, imagine if all of these things were conditioning you to believe one singular message or one hidden message. Imagine if girls were the ones who had to impress us with a shiny diamond stone that costs thousands of dollars. To most of us, that idea would seem so incredibly absurd to us that it's actually kind of funny, right? And that just proves my point even further, because that's how deeply rooted this hidden message is within our head. The idea that men don't actually have to prove themselves to women seems so incredibly ridiculous, because we have been conditioned to believe something that directly competes with such an idea for pretty much the entirety of our lives. And this hidden message is even coded into the very language that we speak, such as when a guy tells another guy that he just got lucky with the girl that he likes, as if to imply that it was just sheer luck, or just the sheer roll of the dice that the girl would have given him her attention, or whatever else it is that she has to offer. And on the flip side, girls are given the hidden message that they must not give up their attention easily. And girls are conditioned from a young age to basically play the role of the princess in distress, and to make it as difficult as humanly possible for a man to earn her, or to earn her attention or her respect. So, what does all this mean? What it means is that there was never really any food. There was only really the sound of a ringing bell. All the players out there, and the guys who easily get the girl, the only difference between them and the guys who don't get the girl is that they learned early on that the bell doesn't matter. They learned that to get the girl, you do not have to save the world. To get the girl, you don't have to sacrifice everything, including yourself, because girls do not have to be earned. Just because you've been conditioned to think that food is going to arrive when you hear a bell ring does not actually mean that the food is going to arrive. Just because you've been conditioned to believe something does not necessarily mean that that thing is true. In fact, the message that has been secretly embedded into every square inch of our society has conditioned men to think that they must earn attention from girls. But if you look at any guy who is constantly trying to earn attention from girls, what do we typically see? What we typically see is that the girl just ends up going with the guy who invests nothing into her, or the guy who doesn't care about the bell, the guy who is never trying to actually prove himself to her. You see, we all want desperately to believe that Peter Parker gets the girl in the end, but we all know that at the end of the day, what's really going to happen is she's going to end up with Flash. And the moment that you guys stop believing the bell, the moment that you stop believing the message that a man must earn a female, that's when your life will begin to change for the better. You see, the small percentage of men out there who have girls fighting over them have basically escaped the matrix because they've escaped the message or the belief that has been pounded into our heads from pretty much since we were born. And the reality is that girls were never meant to be earned. They were meant to be attracted. And the way that you attract them is by flipping the hidden message upside down. The small percentage of guys who all the girls are fighting over right now have figured this out, and they were able to change the way that they think. And so, they are the guys who now have Princess Peach fighting for them. Oftentimes, the greatest improvements that we can possibly gain in our lives come from a simple change in the way that we think. Like for the algorithm, we are in the year 2024 where communication is very hard to understand. There are many gurus out there who don't even know what they are talking about and who just want to take your hard-earned money. But if you don't know the best way to read someone's body language, you'll likely never get the girl of your dreams, that job you always wanted, or to start your business and have to settle for less. Because high-value men know where and how to get the information needed, but it's kept private by the 1%, so that the rest of us can't have access to this information. But I've formed connections with an elite group of men. And in this video, I show you the exact strategy they use to read people's body language. So watch this one next if you want to know what it is, and how you can use it to get the girl of your dreams. Thanks, have a great day.